All right, we are live back on Steel City with the Andre Duke Show with Carter Smith. Real quick before we get the show started, so right off the rip, if you can hit that like and subscribe button and help us grow this thing, that would be fantastic. That's down there on the ticker. Um, you can find us on TikTok, Instagram, all the social media sites. And on Twitter as well, or X as what you call it today. So today's thumbnail is: are the Steelers on the back burner for Kirk Cousins? That is something that, we've wanted to maybe dive into. I am not a big proponent of going after Kirk Cousins. I don't think that he's a guy that is the right fit for Pittsburgh going forward. Everything that has came out and all signs lead to Aaron Rodgers signing signing with the Steelers. Antonio Brown with CTESPN first reported this back in March. So I think that it's one of those things that moving forward, it's kind of wild to think about that Aaron Rodgers is possibly coming to the Steelers. The whole time that Kevin Colbert was the Steelers general manager, he never made big trades. They always built through the draft. They always did everything pretty much through the draft. They re-signed the guys that they needed to re-sign. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that Omar Khan is bringing a different dynamic to the Steelers. I mean, you've seen him make trades going forward. It's just one of those things that has happened in his tenure as Steelers general manager. It's been a while for a playoff win. I know I keep harping on that, but Coach Tomlin has, I believe, the team in the right trajectory to get over the hump. It's just the fact of it's been lacking at the quarterback position. I don't know if it's a lack of scouting, but like I said on yesterday's episode, the scouting and things of that sort have been interesting to me. There was no contingency plan after Ben, and I'll run through the Steelers draft picks again. They got a first-round pick, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh. No second-round pick. If I'm Omar Khan and the Steelers, I think that maybe you move into the second round. I don't think that's a bad proposition. Get maybe package some future picks to get into the second round, because as it's looking going forward, in my opinion, I almost feel like the Steelers need to build towards the future. I think you have to get a quarterback no matter what in the first round. I believe there's probably some people that are going to vehemently disagree with me on that, but I don't know who you go with, because Will Howard might be there in the later round. You might have my QB would be Jackson Dart. Some people are out on him. Some people are in on him. I think Jackson Dart, with the addition of Aaron Rodgers, rolling 4 quarterbacks into the training camp season, is something that would be good for the Steelers as a whole in a long-term projection back when they drafted Mason Rudolph. It's one of those things that he has been there before. And even if Rodgers doesn't sign, I think Rudolph would be like, okay, I understand what the assignment is. Do I think that Mason Rudolph would be like pissed off or upset? I don't think he'll take his ball and go home like Kenny Pickett did. Just to be clear, I think Mason would welcome some competition, and I don't think Mike Tomlin would have brought a veteran guy like Mason Rudolph back into the fold like he did, just absolutely like that. If he didn't have a grand plan. So I think it could be a stacked quarterback room. Mason Rudolph could be, he's accepted the fate of maybe he's going to be a long-term backup to possibly get another guy ready if Aaron Rodgers doesn't sign. But I'm throwing the hat in the ring on the Kirk Cousins thing because I think Cousins could possibly do the same thing. But you also have things that are running into the vernacular of the quarterback room. If you bring in a Kirk Cousins with a Mason Rudolph, that means it's only a two-man competition. And if you draft a Jackson Dart, a Will Howard, something of that sort, is a kind of a wild conundrum you put yourself in, because if you have two guys, you don't have one. But I don't think Kirk Cousins will sign, and I don't think the Steelers are interested because he's a statue of a quarterback. He cannot move around. I think Arthur Smith in his offense, if he gets a younger quarterback that can move around like what he had at Tennessee, that's what got him the Atlanta Falcons job. I think that if I'm the Steelers, I roll into getting a quarterback in the first round, and hopefully somebody like Ollie Gordon, or it seems like the scouts aren't high on Quinshon Judkins, which is kind of wild to me. But if you could pick up a Jackson Dart in the first round and pick up a Quinshon Judkins, somebody that can be a contributor right away, it would bode well for the Steelers. Just in my opinion, it's one of those things that you have trying to set a younger nucleus on offense and trying to get some things accomplished, because in my opinion, the quarterback position is the most important position on the team because it's the guy that touches the ball every time. And I'm also live on TikTok as well. So shout out TikTok. But I think that, moving forward, Kirk Cousins is kind of like a lateral move. I don't think Omar Khan's going to go into the Indianapolis Colts realm of things of trying to recycle somebody else's trash. I said that yesterday. Aaron Rodgers would be essentially a rental into retirement, like a classic car. If Aaron Rodgers signs, do I think the Steelers go running back in the first round to try to replace some of the Najee Harris production? Maybe. But I could also see, the Steelers being the Steelers and going defense. Going after Trey Amos, the corner from Ole Miss, or some other pieces that could benefit the Steelers going forward. Do I think that it would be out of the realm of possibility that they could shock everybody and go maybe center or tackle. That's always a possibility on that end of the spectrum. But I don't know what the cards hold. And I think Aaron Rodgers is probably going to wait until to see what they do in the draft. I mean, I said that yesterday and I think that I don't think that's a bad move for Rodgers, but I don't think he sets up a throwing session with DK Metcalf and lets it leak out on social media with them being at UCLA and them throwing, routes on air and things like that if he's not interested in coming to the Steelers. I think that it could be, one of the most talented wide receiver cores that Aaron Rodgers has had to deal with going forward. So, or had. I mean, you could argue the Jets, but, it's the New York Jets, so I think we could hold some of the water on that. But do I think Kirk Cousins is in play? I think if they strike out on Rodgers, I think Cousins is definitely in play. And if they strike out, I definitely think that they're going to draft a quarterback if they strike out on Rodgers, because I don't almost think they're going to punt this season, but I think it could be a interesting look going forward for the Steelers for this year. It's one of those things that they have a unique opportunity to upgrade the team and move it forward towards the future. I think that's something that kind of Kevin Colbert got stuck in the funk with a little bit, especially on defense. A lot of guys got old fast. Lamar Woodley, James Harrison, Ike Taylor. So I think that something is a brewing in Pittsburgh, something that, the fan base hasn't seen in a while. It's always moving forward, but breaking news, New England Patriots is sending Joe Milton to the Dallas Cowboys per sources. With Cooper Rush going to Baltimore, Dallas has a new backup for Dak Prescott, per Adam Schefter. So I think the quarterback carousel is still alive and well. So that just goes to show you how much people are valuing the quarterback position. I think the Rodgers thing, they got to get something that will work and something that they got to get something in the short term and in the long term. I know that is very difficult for NFL teams to do, but I don't think that it's the end of the world if they pick up Rodgers and draft somebody. I don't see why, if you're a Steeler fan, you would not like that idea. It's just something that I think they need to do. I think that it's something they have to do to secure the future for the Steelers. You can't get up in the outside realm of where it's been, and it just hasn't worked out. The Pickett thing was an absolute abject failure. I want to say they probably got some outside pressure on that. I think that it's something that they need to get out of their system, because sometimes recycling things is not always the best bet, in my opinion. But do I think it's the end of the world? No. But they got to get something that will be productive going forward, somebody that can step in after a Rodgers leaves. That's That's one of my biggest things that I think they need to do. Um, with that being said, do I think Cousins is like the backup plan? Yes. I mean, it's better than Jameis Winston. It's better than anything that they were thinking about rolling out. So, I mean, if anybody else has any better ideas, go ahead and present those. So, um, I just feel like Kirk Cousins can't move in the pocket. He would be basically a less mobile Russ, in my opinion. Um, I think that's a very interesting move by the Patriots to get rid of Joe Milton at this juncture. Apparently, Mike Vrabel thinks Drake May is the guy, so that is where they've put all their nuts in one basket. So hopefully it works out for him, but it's one of those things that you can't get too bent out of shape about it. But I think moving forward that Rodgers is the play. Do I think he's being coy by not signing right now? Yeah, I really do. But I don't think that Aaron Rodgers not signing with the Steelers, I think he's just going to hold out and see what they do in the draft. I don't know. I've heard things and seen things on the old internet that Minnesota is out on Rodgers. I guess they're going to roll with JJ going into the season. So am I shocked by that? I mean, JJ McCarthy was a first-round pick, so do I think that letting JJ McCarthy sit on the bench for another year is a good thing? I don't think that is the worst thing in the world, but do I think that Minnesota wants to get him out there in the regular season and see what they got? Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you? If you're Minnesota, I mean, it's your first round pick. It's, you got to see what the future holds. Because if you bring in Rodgers, I mean, that's kind of another year that you have your future plan. But I think the outside of Justin Jefferson, what's the appeal to going to Minnesota? I mean, basically you would be following the Brett Favre path, and you kind of seen where that led you. But the Steelers don't hardly ever bring in big time free agents, and they don't make trades. I mean, like I said at the beginning of the show, Omar Khan has done a little bit of both of that. So for the Steelers to be this invested in Rodgers, if it doesn't work out, is it Aaron Rodgers or is it the Steelers? Because there's certain liberties the Steelers won't give away. It's ran like a traditional franchise. The GM does his thing, the coach coaches the players, and they all draft together. It's not rocket science to why they've only had 3 coaches since 1969, and maybe they'll get somebody in the draft and you'll have another Joe Who headline like in the Post-Gazette. So I think the Aaron Rodgers thing is trending in the right direction. So I don't believe it's going to be the be-all, end-all. If they don't get Rodgers, is it going to suck? Yeah. Can Mason Rudolph win 8 to 10 games? Maybe. I mean, with this wide receiver core, if you get a little more consistency out of George Pickens, I think you'll be all right. Less antics and the addition of DK Metcalf, because it was pretty much Pickens. And then the Wilson kid out of Michigan. You got to see what he can do. I mean, he was hurt all of last year, so I think that going forward, that might be one of the better things that they can do. So I don't think it's the end of the world where you're at with Mason Rudolph, but we're at the 20-minute mark. So as you can see on the ticker, hit that like and subscribe button. If you're watching over on YouTube, X, if you're watching on X, come on over, hit that like and subscribe button. This is the Steel City show of the Andre Duke Show with Carter Smith. If you got any questions, throw them in the chat. We can see where the show takes us. But I do have some other things that are non-Steelers related, but I did see some stuff throughout the day on the internet, but this pertains to the Jets. Woody Johnson, this is on Justin Fields. I've been impressed with him since his college days. It was Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence, which is wild to me because the Jets in the same draft drafted Zach Wilson. Now, I'm not trying to turn this into a Jets show, but Woody, what are you talking about, man? Like that is a horrendous take, in my opinion, by Woody Johnson, the Jets owner, talking about it was Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence. Do I think it would be any better off than where they are now? No, probably not. But I mean they traded for Rodgers, so I think that I find that interesting, but I don't know what Woody Johnson's even thinking of at that point. It's just an absolute crap take on his part, and I just don't know why some of the owners like to hold press conferences or even speak in front of the media, because I get it, you own the team if they want to ask you, the general questions, but if somebody would have asked you that, I would have said, Justin's a great player. That's why we signed him. Went through the whole dog and pony show, but at some point, why would you say that in the public? You just basically, you're throwing everybody in the organization under the bus at that point. So that's one of the things that I saw that I was looking at, and it just caught my eye. I mean, should Justin Fields have gotten more snaps in Pittsburgh and gotten more of the nod? I think after Russ lost 2 in a row at the end of the year, I understand why Tomlin wouldn't make that hard choice on the switch, because it wouldn't have bode well for the team. It would, the old adage is, if you got to play 2, you don't have 1. So Tomlin stuck with his guns, and I'm sure him and Arthur Smith had a lot of conversations about, do we go back to Justin? Do we keep Russ in there? But at the end of the day, I mean, they're both in New York, so at both New York teams. So we're going to see what Russ and Justin Fields can do, getting a full season apiece and both healthy, and wish them the best. But I think Russ and Justin are in some tough situations being at both New York teams. So that's what it is. And speaking of the draft, every first round QB selected from the 2020 season on: Joe Burrow, number 1, Tua Tagovailoa, number 5, Justin Herbert, 6, and Jordan Love, 26. Very, very interesting. 4 in the first round. And then, you go to 2021, you have, hold on, let me go back. All those guys are still on the same teams that drafted them. So I find that, that's a good sign. Burrow extension, Herbert extension, Love extension, and Tua extension. But as we move forward into 2021, you have Trevor Lawrence. He got an extension from Jacksonville. Zach Wilson, number 2 overall pick, been on 3 teams. Trey Lance, I think, is playing in Canada. Way to go, Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. That was a hell of a deal. Justin Fields, 3 teams. Bears, Steelers, Jets now. Mac Jones, 3 teams. And Trey Lance, number 3 overall pick. Justin Fields, 11. And Mac Jones, 15. And then 2022, a guy ex of this parish, Kenny Pickett from Pittsburgh for a couple of years. He went to Philly for a year, and now he is in Cleveland. So Kenny Pickett's winning at life. And then 2023, you have Bryce Young, number 1, C.J. Stroud, number 2, and AR5, number 4. So yet to be seen what those teams do. Those guys are still pretty early on in their contracts. 2024, we had 6 quarterbacks drafted in the first round. Caleb Williams, seeing how that's going. Jaden Daniels, probably should have been picked number 1. Drake May, jury's still out on him. Michael Penix didn't get a start until late in the year, so we're going to get our first full season of Penix. J.J. McCarthy in Minnesota, going to get the first full year of him. He hasn't thrown a pass in the regular season. And then you got Bo Nix that, took the Broncos to the playoffs. So I think that, it's been 19 quarterbacks drafted since 2020. So I think that that's something to look at. Do I think there'll be a run on quarterbacks this year? I think so, to a certain extent. Do I think that if Jackson Dart goes before the Steelers pick, do I think it's a reach? Possibly. It could possibly be a reach. I think he has tremendous upside, but, if you draft him too early, like the top 10 or something like that, and he doesn't pan out, that sets your franchise back, 3-4 years. Ask the Browns about that. And then we'll turn our attention to something else that's very interesting that Roger Goodell said today, yesterday whenever he was asked. It was posted by CBS Sports about the tush push, and wanted to say that I think there are safety issues with the tush push, which kind of blows me away. I don't know how he can say there's safety issues with the tush push and stopping the play that, the Eagles and like a handful of teams can execute to an exact science is a safety issue whenever you're going to lobby and try to get people to play a 18th game. Because it went up from, it was a 2 to 3 year buzz about 17. And then they finally got the 17th game with the CBA coming up, and you want 18 games? Dog, this does not make any sense, because how can you say it's player safety and you're not going to do anything about it at all when you're saying that it's player safety, but you want to play a whole extra football game plus the playoffs? And if they add an 18th game, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say I wouldn't be shocked if there was a expanded playoff to where 9 teams get in, something like that, to where there's 18 total instead of 14. Because the addition of a regular season game, they expanded the playoffs. So I wouldn't be shocked if they, from it being, 7-7 to 8-8, 16-team playoff. So I think you're not far off from seeing the playoffs expand if they're going to add an extra game in Roger Goodell is lying to you when he says it's all about player safety, which is wild to me. When you have the tush push and then you want to add an extra game, it just blows me away. But uh, moving on to the next topic, unrelated Steelers topic. Every every team's last playoff appearance. So we'll go in order. The Jets have not made the playoffs since 2010. Rex Ryan, I believe, was their head coach. Rex, when he was the Jets head coach, he had a foothold on everything, and those guys had quick feet. So, and their feet have been slow, so that's probably why they haven't been in the playoffs. Foot speed will kill you whenever you're the Jets. That's one thing that is a very interesting endeavor moving forward. So I think that the Jets and their foot speed, although they've increased it with Garrett Wilson, but we'll see what the Jets can do. I don't think it's the be all end all. Can Justin Fields get the Jets to the playoffs? I don't know. That's a big undertaking, but he's going to be reunited with Garrett Wilson. But the Jets haven't been to the playoffs since 2010. Next on the list, the Atlanta Falcons and the Carolina Panthers. 2017 since their last playoff appearances. Carolina has been an abject failure ever since getting rid of Cam Newton. Ron Rivera just hasn't worked out in Carolina. Atlanta punted on Dan Quinn. So I hope Dan Quinn does really well in Washington with the Commanders or whatever the hell they're going to be called or whatever it is down there in Washington, the Washington football team. The Bears, Colts, and Saints 2020. I'm going to go out on a limb. Do I think Ben Johnson can fix the Caleb Williams thing? Not really. It'll be a miracle if they win 8 games in Chicago. That's just my opinion. Can Daniel Jones turn the Colts around? Maybe. I mean, he won a playoff game with the Giants. So, and then the Saints, I think it's an absolute punt. I think the Saints, thinking about it, who gets to the playoffs first, the Saints or the Jets? There's a 10-year gap there. A lot of people would say the Jets will probably make it to the playoffs before the Saints, but we'll see. 2021, the Arizona Cardinals and the Las Vegas Raiders and the New England Patriots and the Tennessee Titans have not made the playoffs all since 2021. So I find that, kind of intriguing. The Patriots they bottomed out a little bit at the end of the Belichick era. The Cardinals just couldn't get it done. They haven't had consistent quarterback play. Tennessee, they on defense they got old, and I think the changing of a general manager and roster moves kind of did Vrabel in. So I'm not shocked by that. 2022, Jacksonville, Cincinnati, the Giants, and the Seahawks. I don't think Geno was 100% healthy going forward. I think him getting a new start over there in Las Vegas, I think that helps him a lot. The Giants, and they actually, they won a playoff game against Minnesota. Complete abject failure by Kirk Cousins and the Vikings that year. They let the Giants come in there on the road and beat them. So that is something of note, I believe. I'm sure there's somebody going to be in the comments saying, you got that wrong and your date's wrong and the year's wrong, but whatever. Cincinnati, it's been a little bit for Burrow. Burrow's been injury-laden for the longest. So I think, with a healthy Burrow, 2 happy wide receivers, they may be able to get it done down there in Cincinnati. Super Bowl, I don't know. The addition of Al Golden, they're in the Steelers division. The addition of Al Golden could be very, very big. But sometimes, like I say, it's not about plays, it's about playas, as my good friend Tyler Siskey would say. And then the Jaguars, I think it's kind of crap or get off the pot for Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville. He's got that big extension, new offensive guru, as they keep calling him in the NFL. The NFL has done nothing but get younger on coaches, so we'll see. Liam Cohen, Mr. Duval, Dallas, San Francisco, Miami. I don't know if Dallas is going to make the playoffs, although I do like Brian Schottenheimer. If they do some things in the draft and get back to running the football, I think Dallas might be okay. Do I see them making the playoffs? It's going to be a fringe year. Dak's going to have a really good year, in my opinion, for them to make the playoffs. The Niners, I think the Niners are old on defense. You have the Brock Purdy thing floating around out there. We'll see how that pans out. They traded Deebo Samuel away, so that's what that is. Miami, the Dolphins, all their whole everything is contingent on what Tua can do. If Tua is healthy and plays the entire year and does everything that Tua should do to be a quarterback, they should be okay. They might make the playoffs. And then you have all the playoff teams from this year, Lions, Packers, Buccaneers, Chiefs, Ravens, Eagles, Steelers, Bills, Texans, Rams, Vikings, Commanders, Chargers, and the Broncos. So those are the playoff teams, and something that always warms my heart going forward is the addition of Deshaun Jackson to the Cleveland Browns. Now, let's just hear out this compensation. 3 first-round picks, 1/3, and 2 fourth-round picks in exchange for Deshaun Watson, 1 6th-round pick. And you see what that's netted Cleveland. Deshaun Watson coming off in a torn Achilles. So we'll see what that bears. Just not a good look going forward for the fellas in Cleveland, in my opinion. It's one of those things that, do I think it gets any better? Maybe, maybe not. Do I think he's on his way out? Yes. I think Deshaun Watson is definitely gonzo. Do they keep him around? Maybe, just so they don't have to eat all that free cap money. But I have all the win totals odds via ESPN Bet. So I'm just going to buzz through them and say yay or nay. If you have any comments about this, put it in the chat if you would. Bills with the highest total, 11.5. The Ravens, 11.5. Kansas City, 11.5. Cincinnati, very, very strange here. Cincinnati, they think hiring Al Golden's going to turn that defense around, I guess. Cincinnati at 10.5. Hashtag 3. Dave's here. What's up, Dave? Cincinnati at 10.5, the Chargers at 10.5, Houston 9.5, Denver at 9.5, the Steelers at 8.5, Miami 8.5, New England 7.5, even with the addition of Vrabel. That's kind of wild. 7.5 with the addition of Vrabel. Jacksonville 6.5, Indy 6.5, Tennessee 5.5. I'm not shocked by that. I think even if they get Cam Ward, I don't think it's going to bode well for them down there in the Music City of Nashville. The Jets, Justin Fields giving him 5.5 wins. That's a interesting endeavor. Pete Carroll in the Vegas Raiders 5.5. If I had to bet an over on win total, I would go Pete Carroll and the Raiders are going to win more than 5 games, I think. Cleveland, 4.5 wins. Well, Cleveland's only going to get 4.5 wins if Kenny Pickett starts every game for them. If he starts every game and they win more than 4.5 games, I may shave my head. So moving on to the NFC, Philadelphia Eagles 11.5. Not shocked. San Francisco way too high in my opinion at 10.5. Detroit, that's probably right there at 10.5. Washington 10.5. Pretty good line there. Rams 10.5. I think the LA Rams are going to be better than what people think, in my opinion. The Green Bay Packers 9.5. That should be achievable for them to win 10 games, depending on how they do in the division. 9.5 for Tampa Bay. The Bears, Chicago Bears, 8.5 wins as it sits right now. I would bet the under. Plunder the under on the Bears on 8.5 wins. I'm just telling you now. Plunder the under on the Bears, 8.5 wins. I don't think that is out of the realm of possibility for them to win 4 or 5 games again. Minnesota losing Sam Darnold, probably J.J. McCarthy, their QB1, 8.5 wins. That's kind of middle of the road. Kyler Murray, 8.5 wins. In the Arizona Cardinals, Seattle, 8.5. I think Seattle doesn't see 8.5 wins. Maybe they might with Sam Darnold. They might be able to catch magic in the bottle. Dallas, 8.5 wins. I don't see it there. Atlanta, 7.5. I kind of like the over on that one because they got to play the Saints twice. And then Carolina, 6.5 wins. Hopefully Bryce Young and somebody can do something there. The Saints, 5.5 wins. Not a lot of hope there in New Orleans. Salary cap hell for the Saints. Hopefully they can do something in the draft and get something figured out. And then the New York Giants, the New York Football Giants, over under win total 4.5. That is how the mighty fall from grace, in my opinion. So we'll see what those win totals end up being. I just think it's kind of wild that is where they are at this point. It just really blows me away that they've only got those win totals there. And then the top remaining free agents after we get this whip around is still Aaron Rodgers, number 1. And I wouldn't be shocked if the Steelers talked to J.K. Dobbins, maybe Tyler Lockett, to bring in a veteran presence in that locker room. So that's kind of where we're sitting right now. Went over the win totals. If anybody's got any questions, kind of really need to reset the show. So if you're watching on Twitter, come on over, or X. come on over to YouTube and hit that like and subscribe button and help us grow this platform. Going forward, possibly, depending on how things shake out, we're going to have Carter be joining the show. This is more of our NFL-centric show, obviously with the Steelers lean to it, but this is Steel City. So if you hit that like and subscribe button, helps us grow this thing, and we can bring more features to the show and to the channel. Also, we will be live tonight at 7:30, going over mostly college football, if that is something that you're interested in. So that is what we're doing on this channel, and so that's what it is, and this is where we're heading right now. And hold on, I'm pulling up the old notes here from where we were. I just find it funny, some of the antics that are going on with the tush push thing, which is wild. And also on the NFL note, does anybody else find it odd that, or well, not really find it odd, but find it interesting that, the Troy Taylor thing, I talked about that on the night show. It was, you got to wait. For me, that's a wait and see game. Got to see what happened and what really went on. It's something that, it is what it is. Troy Taylor was relieved of his duties by Andrew Luck, and Frank Reich is there at Stanford. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. But whenever you're going forward with the Tennessee Titans, just a little bit of a change of a pace here. The Tennessee Titans quarterback room record, they have Will Levis 5-16, Braden Allen 2-8, and Tim Boyle 0-5. So whatever they bring in, whether it's Shador or Cam Ward, I don't know if it can get any worse than that. It's Tennessee's kind of at the rock bottom, in my opinion. So I think that, it's one of those things that's where Tennessee's at. And then also, with it being draft month, it's the big thing that, a lot of fans and everybody out there want to be excited for, in which I can't blame anybody about that, because for me, I think that if the Steelers can get something for the longevity of the future at the quarterback position, I think it helps immensely. Some people aren't as high. They think that they should go team needs and do all that fun stuff, but I think you got to secure the future. And whether Aaron Rodgers signs or doesn't sign, I don't think it's the be all end all. I still think you have to go out there and secure the future. I may sound like a broken record, but that's just my opinion. So, and also for the Steeler fans out there, I kind of would like to know your thoughts on playing in Ireland. Dan Rooney was an ambassador there, appointed by President Obama. I know that would be something that Dan Rooney would be psyched about. The Steelers playing in Dublin. I don't know how the logistics are going to look on that trip, but the whole London, Germany, Brazil, all those trips out of the country. I know I don't think anybody likes playing in London, to be honest, but I think this means something to the Steelers just because of the late great Dan Rooney. So I think that that's something to be said. I think it'll be an interesting day or a trip over there. And also, Steeler fans, I want to hear from you. Are you guys going to the London game? That's something that I find interesting for the people that have been over there or anybody that has made the trip to an NFL Europe game. Put it in the comments if you have. So I think that, in closing, as we creep closer to the draft, I find it very interesting on some of the reports and stuff that come out. But, anybody that has any credible media will say Antonio Brown has no credibility in this whole CT ESPN thing. But they were way ahead of everybody when it came to the Aaron Rodgers stuff. They had the Broncos uniforms. They had the Colorado uniforms. They had a lot of things way, way in advance before anybody else, and that is a fact. So maybe Antonio Brown hit this nail on the head, and maybe he's got it. Maybe, him and Tomlin are boys behind the scenes, but we'll see. I don't think that there's anything that is out of the realm of possibility. I don't put anything that couldn't possibly be true anymore. So, also I'd like to gauge some people's interest since this is more of an NFL show. Do you think Travis Hunter? Do you think he plays one side of the ball in the NFL, or do you think he plays both sides of the ball in the NFL? I'll be interested to hear what the chat and the comments have to say about that. And also the mistake by the lake. Are they going to draft Shedeur Sanders? Is that a real possibility? Deion's going to let his son Shedeur go to Cleveland? I think that if they do, I mean, that's something that, the Steelers have to look at, not as a long-term issue, but, but I get it. It's the Cleveland Browns. The Browns and the Bengals have drafted, I don't know, more quarterbacks in the last 15 years than the Steelers have in the last 30, probably combined. And I bet, and it's even in the first 4 rounds. I bet somebody can look that up, and I bet that it's out there somewhere that's a fact. So I think that it's something to look at. And could somebody like the Titans trade back and get a king's ransom for the number 1 overall pick? Who would take that? I don't know I don't think Vegas would be in on that. Let me pull up the draft order. Who do I think would hop up in that first round, or the first overall pick? Maybe the Giants, but I don't know from the Titans flopping from 1 to 3 would really get it, because if they really like Travis Hunter, I mean, you cut all speculation, but if you could parlay that with maybe a second or a third round pick, that could be something that could be in there. Jacksonville, they're not going to. New England, no. Vegas, no. They got a deal with Geno. The New York Jets go out and sign Justin Fields. Do you move up? Probably not. Carolina, I don't know. The Saints could be interesting, but it would be really hard to get rid of Derek Carr at that point. The Bears have Caleb Williams. The San Francisco 49ers, the whole Brock Purdy thing. Now that could be somebody that would want to move up. I would see Dallas moving up. Miami, that's a tough sell. Indianapolis, I don't know if they have enough capital to do it. The Falcons have a quarterback. The Cardinals have a quarterback. Cincinnati, no. The Seahawks just signed Sam Darnold. Tampa Bay's got Baker. Denver's good. Pittsburgh ain't going to give up anything. The LA Chargers, no. Green Bay, no. Minnesota, no. Houston, highly doubt it. The Rams, maybe, but they have Stafford. I mean, if you're moving up that high to go to 1, you're looking for a Q. So I think out of all the teams in the first round that would possibly move up, I could see maybe Indy, Dallas, San Francisco, Miami if you can dump Tua, but I mean that's a hefty contract trying to unload. So maybe a package of picks could flip-flop some things around, but there's a lot of people that year Houston took CJ Stroud and they ran right back up to the table and made a deal to get another high pick. So I don't know. You might find somebody that could do that, but I don't see where a lot of the teams, because there were 6 quarterbacks taken in the first round. So I think that has hampered a lot of possibly the high draft movement unless you're all in on somebody that you can't miss. But the way it reads in the NFL draft the last 5-6 years has been got to go up and get a quarterback. And I think all the teams that need a quarterback are half-ass up the draft board. Do I think the Jets draft a quarterback? Do I think they draft Shedeur if he's there? I don't think Shedeur gets to the Jets at 7. I really don't. Because I would say it's going to go Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders. I don't know what the Giants are going to do. The Giants could be in on that just because they want to maybe flip places to get a quarterback. And I think Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter. I think Vrabel probably go defense to get Abdul Carter. What Jacksonville does, probably wide receiver, I would say. Although they just drafted Brian Robinson last year, but Jacksonville will probably go offensive line. I would say Pete Carroll goes offensive line. And who the hell knows what the Jets are going to do? Carolina, they're a wild card. The Saints, you put any faith into them. The Bears will pick the worst guy in the first round. Probably a lock on that one. San Francisco, it depends on what they want to do. But for the majority, it's kind of a Yahtzee board at this point. But I think the first 4 off the board are Cam, Shedeur, Travis, Abdul, in whatever order, that I don't know. So I think that is something to pay attention to moving forward. Do I think the Titans trade out of it? If the Titans trade out of it, I don't think they trade out of the top 10. So that's just kind of my opinion on it. I think a team that could be interesting to watch is the Bears. They have 2 second-round picks. I think that, if you're Pittsburgh, could you maybe make a deal and get one of those second-round picks for somebody? It just depends. Poles picks 39th and 41st in the second round. So I think if I'm the Bears, got to get some defensive guys, but that's just my opinion. But I think if you're Pittsburgh, you might be able to trade it, put something together for a future pick or something like that, and maybe try to move into the second round and get a guy of your choosing. But all in all, do I think Kirk Cousins is coming to Pittsburgh? No. Do I think the Steelers should go running or quarterback, running back? Yes. I think they need to grab Jackson Dart and not let him fall to the Rams. Jackson Dart or Will Howard, one of those guys. But with that being said, so if you're watching this at a later date, as it says on the ticker below, if you made it this far, hit that like and subscribe button. Help us grow this channel. So with that being said, we're signing off from Steel City, and we'll see you tonight on the Andre Duke Show with Carter Smith. Everybody have a good rest of your day.